am here with Hello, I am here with Hello, I am here with a shower thought that I just had today. And as I was showering and just sort of contemplating everything, just everything, I realized that I was that friend. And I think most people know what I mean when I say I was that friend growing up. But I've realized that I really was that kid. And when I say that friend, I mean I was that friend that even my friend group didn't like. I had a friend group, but even my friends didn't really like me. I think it started in middle school, and especially like in 6th grade, because we went from being separate elementary schools to everybody in the district comes together. Because in my district there's only enough people for one middle school. And I remember that was kind of when my clique formed, like my friend group formed. That kind of remained up through high school. You know, people came and went and it changed a bit, but the same core of people, or like a significant amount of the same people, stayed in the group from 6th grade and onwards. And anyway, growing up, I could always tell that even in my friend group, I wasn't well liked. And as a kid, I remember thinking that must just be how everyone felt. I remember thinking, like, when my friends at the lunch table would bully me and do things like take my food, throw food at me, call me names, tell me that, nobody wants you here, right? Like, everybody wishes that you would go away. I thought that it was like, because they were my friends, I thought it was what friends do. I thought it was like, oh, this is just like them picking on me, but as my friends. It's hard to explain like exactly how I made sense of it. But even though I never really noticed anyone else in my friend group being treated that way, I just assumed that it must happen to other people. Like, I wasn't the only person in the friend group who had whatever done to me. And I was the type of person, and I still kind of am, where I didn't know how to put boundaries up. I still have a very hard time with that. So 10 years ago, when I was a teenager, just becoming a teenager, you can only imagine how hard that was. And even further, when I was 11, because that's when you start middle school, is 11. So that was 12 years ago. I've had 12 years since then to like practice and like understand things better. And to be able to like know what a boundary is. I honestly didn't even really have a concept of what boundaries were, and the fact that you could put boundaries into place with other people, because I grew up in a household where if I tried to put my foot down about anything that I felt or wanted or what have you, I was basically told that I am not important enough, I don't have the right to do that because I am a child. And so it was pretty abusive, but my family raised me where like I could not speak my mind. I could not say my true feelings if it did not align with what they wanted. And that really affected me once I was in school, because other people took advantage of me, and my family raised me to where I felt like I had to take it. They never raised me to stand up for myself because they were bullies towards me themselves. They constantly put me down. I was the only one out of my siblings who had to constantly clean and do chores. It's a very complicated reason as to why it worked out that way. It's not just because my family wanted to treat me as like the black sheep, as Cinderella, as whatever. But my family, for very complicated reasons, they did treat me like that. And it was a mix of because I was the oldest. And my family has a very firm belief that the oldest is supposed to help, which, yeah, like, that's normal. But, like, by the time I was a teenager, my mom was relying on me as if I were, like, her partner. Emotionally, by the time I was 15, 16, it was a bit financially, she depended on me. I wasn't paying, like, half of the bills, but without the money that I was bringing in as a teenager, things would not have been as well as they were. Like, I helped her a lot financially. And, emotionally, I was like, I had to be there for her. I had to listen to her. I had to support her. And I didn't get that back. If I ever tried to lean on my mom growing up, I always got treated as though my problems weren't big enough. And what could I possibly have to cry about? I need to be more grateful. I didn't even have a father growing up. And I was aware of that. And there is this time where my aunt babysat because my aunt had a daycare, an in-home daycare. And so my aunt was babysitting these two boys with a single mother, and their father only came around like once a year for their birthdays or something. And my aunt was going on and on about how sad she is for them. And I just kind of interrupted her, and I was like, well, what about me? Like, you've never said any of that to me, and I'm your nephew. And I was like maybe 11 or 12 at this time. And her answer was, well, Michael, my life isn't that traumatic. Like, yeah, I don't have a father, but, like, I have a really good mom, and I have a family, and this, that, the other. And it's like, okay, so do those boys who you are friends with their mother, like, that's how you know them, is you're, like, such good friends with their mom, are you saying that their mom isn't as good as mine? Like, that's just stuff that I think about now. But back then, you know, I was looking for that validation of, like, well, do my experiences matter? Like, what about me? And I was pretty much told no. And I had that sort of thing happen to me a lot. And so, of course, when I was around kids my age, where I knew that they had no reason to be kind to me, like, I already expected to be treated so poorly from my blood family who raised me, and I just thought that that was what I deserved. I just thought that was as good as the treatment I will ever gets. Like, that's as good as I'll ever be treated. And so, when other children, other teenagers, picked on me, took advantage of me, told me that I was dumb, that I was less than, there wasn't a bone in my body that wanted to fight back, because I was raised to just believe that about myself. Subconsciously. Consciously, like, in my mind, I thought of myself as pretty confident. I dressed up. I was anxious all the time, and I was nervous about what people thought about me, and I was constantly thinking about what other people thought. But I believed that I was confident because I dressed well, and I did my hair nice. And, like, in my videos nowadays where my hair is, like, all over the place, you would not have caught me dead like that when I was younger. My appearance very much mattered to me. And, I'm not really sure why. It might be because that was, like, the one thing I could control. The one thing about myself that even my family, they would acknowledge. They would stop sometimes and they'd just be like, wow, Michael, in the sunlight, you're so beautiful. Like, you have such a beautiful face. That was like the one thing my family consistently praised me on, was how pretty my bone structure is. And I'm a pretty boy. Like, and it's weird too, because they call me a faggot and they do not accept me for who I am. But then they'll sit there and call me a pretty boy my entire life. But anyway, I don't really care. It sucked growing up, and it was really hard. It really was hard. I struggled with suicidal ideation a lot. And there was a recurring thought that I had since the time I was about 7 years old. And the first time I ever thought it, I was sitting in a church vacation Bible school tent, because we were outside and they had tents set up for all the different grades. Usually we would be in the basement, but for summer vacation Bible school, obviously, like, it's fun to be outside. And so the first time I ever thought this, I was sitting down in the tent and everybody else was like off to play after we were done with the lesson. And I was free to go, but I was wrapping up an art project that we did. And I remember just kind of watching everybody, and the thought hit. And I was like, because I was 7, and this memory is like a very clear memory. And I was like, I'm gonna live for like another 70 or 80 years. Like, when I was, younger, I just expected that I'm gonna live to be 80 or 90. Like, everybody lives to be 90 years old at least. Maybe even 100. And so yeah, like, I was just like, I have at least 70 more years. A little wishful thinking now. Like, now I'm like, I'm lucky if I can live to be 55. Just because you never know. And I know that now that I'm an adult, but, as a kid, you don't know that. So, but with that thought, I was like, why the hell would I want to stay and do this for 70, 80 more years? I didn't have the words when I was that age, so the words that I thought at that age were, why would I want to live another 70 years? Like, I thought about my day, and I thought about life, and I literally was like, why would, like, there are good parts about life, and I thought about that. Like, I thought about playing with my friends and whatever, but even thinking about just the good parts of life, I was still like, it's tiresome. It can only be fun for so long. It can, like, those were the types of feelings that I had. And like I said, I don't really think I could put them into words, but that's why the main thought that I had back then was just like, why would I want to live that much longer? Like, I thought maybe like 20 years old, 30 years old, but like, why would I want to live to be 80 years old and live that long? And that thought just kind of grew from the time I was 7 years old and that initial time to me being like a teenager. And I don't think that I really started to get rid of that thought until I was 19. And I was 19 years old and I started to go against my family. I started to go against the chains that other people had put onto me. And I stopped believing the things that other people made me believe about myself. I stopped believing that I was less than. I stopped believing that I was less capable. I actually started to see my strengths and acknowledge them, and I started to tell myself, wow, I'm above average. But then when I struggle, I also tell myself, this is an area that might not be for me. Or like, this requires me to put in more work. And since 19 and now I'm 23, I've been able to kind of improve my mental health a lot. And unfortunately, I don't really have a single friend left from that time growing up. And there were two people in particular where, like, I really wanted to hold on to them. I didn't want to let them go. But I realized, like, I was truly that person to everyone, even, like, my quote-unquote best friend. Because we grew up together, we were in the same neighborhood, we were, like, next-door neighbors, actually, for a little while. We were very close. I had a crush on her, and we never dated, but, like, I made it known that I had a crush on her, and we had one conversation where I was like, I have a crush on, like, I like you, and I just want to know if I should. Like, I don't want to keep chasing you, basically. Like, and I said this at the time, I was 17, she was 17. I don't want to keep chasing you if you know you're not interested. Like, the only reason why I still am crushing on you, and I have been all through high school, is because you said no, but you always say it's because we're too young. You don't know, like, you don't feel like it's appropriate yet. We haven't found ourselves enough. But then when I am interested in another crush or something, like, she would get upset. And so, like, it was that type of situation. But even her, in high school, we were not as close as I felt we were. She picked other people over me all the time. And I think that's part of why, like, I thought I had a shot with her more than I did. Because she did, like, she admitted that she thought I was cute and that kind of thing. And, like, I asked her once, and she told me that there were moments where she thought about it. And she felt like it could be. But, you know, it was just not really something that was meant to happen. But, like, even her, when we had band trips, because I was in marching band, that was, like, the one thing I did at school, was I was able to do marching band. She always wanted to sit with other people. Like, she sat with me when her other options weren't available. But because she was a flute player. So when one of the other people in the flute section wanted her to sit with them or whatever, she always picked other people over me. And within our friend group too, she always picked the other friends over me. But she was, like, there for me more than the other friends were, which made me think that she liked me more. But I think that I don't know really how to even describe that. Like, she would go to the party and she would be there while everyone's talking in front of me about this party, and I'd be like, can I go? And everyone would be like, we don't really know, like, there's not room or something like that. And then she would go to the party, but then she would, like, console me, and she would try to, like, let me know that, like, well, yeah, there really wasn't room, this, that, the other. And it took me a long time to realize, like, she didn't have bad intentions, but she was not my friend the way that I thought she was. And I kind of allowed that, though. And it took me a long time to realize, too, I was sort of, it was like a self-fulfilling prophecy. I felt like I wasn't good enough. I felt like other people were better than me. And even people who started being my friend and, like, treated me well, it was like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Eventually, like, it was a mix of, like, my boundaries would be crossed, but I never put them up. But I felt like they were boundaries that somebody who's a friend should just know. And my friends would be like, well, you never said that. That's not fair. And it was kind of a slow process with some of my friends, and it was a faster process with some, where it was, like, right after high school. And with some, it took a couple of years. And we kept in touch. After high school, 18, 19 years old, we still hung out. We met each other a couple times in the year. 20 years old, we met one time. We would kind of keep in touch over social media. And then over the next couple years, like, it just was nothing. And it got to the point where, like, if I tried to reach out to them, they just don't answer me. They didn't unfriend me. They didn't block me. But I would message them and I'd be like, hey, how are you? Or I'd try to talk, or I'd try to be like, hey, you want to get together soon and visit, reconnect? and I would be ignored. And so I kind of tested it out with like all of those friends that I had left. There were 3. And one of them I wasn't like super like, I was like, we were never that close anyway. We were only close because of the other 2, really. And we were close with those 2, both of us. And then, so I wasn't too like surprised on one of them, which is why earlier I said there were only 2 people. But there was the one girl I was talking about earlier with the whole like crushing thing. And then there is just another girl who I was in cross country with and stuff my senior year, and we were just pals. We were never like anything other than just really good pals, but I thought that we were going to be lifelong pals. And both of those people, and like a lot, like everybody, like from that time of life in high school, stopped responding. And I had a bit of a mental health breakdown, honestly, where I blocked all of them because I gave all of them like multiple weeks. And I was just like, I mean, I gave them like months before I actually blocked, because I really wanted to be sure that like the friendship did not matter to them. And I wanted, like, it took me months to really be like, okay, like, it's not about being busy. It's not about like you have to get back to me, and no, you don't want to. So if you don't want to get back to me, I don't want the reminder of you. Like, I don't want you on my social media. Why? Like, why? And I know some people are like, well, it's like just have 1,000 friends on Facebook and you can scroll and see how everyone's doing that way. And like, some people think that that's a form of connection, but to me, like, no, if you're not even after months not willing to get back to me, when I'm not trying to ask you for a favor, I'm not asking you for money, I'm not asking you for anything other than like, I just want a response. Like, what's up? Human interaction, human conversation. If that makes someone feel awkward or uncomfortable, like me alone, I make someone else feel that way. Why would I want to be friends with them? Like, you look at me like that, and it took me a long time to realize that I can do that. Like, if people treat me that way, you think I'm weird? Okay. I don't need to stick around. But for so long, I felt like I had to stick around. I had to convince people I'm not weird. Don't think I'm weird. Don't think I'm anything. Like, I had to convince people to accept me. And I'm finally able to be like, no, I accept myself. I'm not trying to do anything here. I'm not trying to step on your toes. So if like me, if it's just me and who I am and my presence alone is like, that makes you uncomfortable, or like talking to me makes you feel like any type of way, then fine. Like, I don't have bad intentions. I am not trying to trauma dump. I am not trying to steal your time and make you spend like an exorbitant amount of time with me. Like, I struggle with social cues, and I struggle with like knowing how long to make a conversation in different situations. And I struggle with things, but like, if you tell me like, hey, I gotta go, like, it was nice talking to you, I will let you go. I'm not, you know, some people make assumptions about like attention seeking, or people think that I need, like, you know, like I'm begging them, like, in a conversation. I get this kind of look where people are like, they feel like they're doing me a favor by talking to me, and like, I can tell that they want to get out of the conversation as fast as they can, but they feel, and it's like, as soon as I sense that, I'm like, okay, like, I was just trying to human conversation, like, whatever it is, bumping into each other, we're both waiting in line, just like, I am just trying to like be decent towards you. I'm not trying to do anything. So, like, if that makes you uncomfortable, I'm sorry. But it's a you problem. Like, I will disengage, but, like, my existence is not a problem. And it took me a really long time to believe that. And unfortunately, if you don't have self-worth, it's going to have a very bad effect on all of your relationships. Even with people who are trying to treat you correctly and who, like, do care about you. But if you have no self-worth, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, you'll be walked on. People are going to hurt you. And then people aren't going to care about trying to, like, make you feel better because they're gonna think that you're claiming it out of nowhere. Like, and I think that's, like, a thing that people who don't have a lot of self-worth do too, is I just had a thought internally, but bottling things up. People used to tell me that they could tell that I bottle things up, and one of my acquaintances, we aren't friends anymore, because, like I said, like, I wasn't really able to keep friendships. So, like, but at the time, a friend in college told me that she thinks that I'm the type of person who's going to explode one day, and I'm going to lose my shit, and it's going to be really, really bad. And she was actually not wrong. A couple years after that conversation, because we were both freshmen in the dorms, so we were like 18 years old. At 2021, I had a really, really bad incident. And it was also because it was 21. It was also because I was freshly able to get myself alcohol, and I started to go overboard on that and get bad habits with that and not control myself. And so they're like, but she was right. I had a really, really bad incident. And people who struggle with self-worth, and this was me, I guess maybe not everyone, but this was my experience. I didn't feel like I had a voice. I didn't feel like anyone would care. I felt like people would actually get mad at me if I voiced what I felt or if I had a problem. So I would remember, and I would remember. And eventually, when either, like, a problem that I felt was just, like, too big, or when I finally had enough, like, it exploded, just like my friend said. And it was like, I still struggle with that now, where, like, I just struggle with it. I can't even really describe it. I'm doing a lot better than I used to, but, like, I still struggle with that type of emotion. Like, I put up with a lot, like, and not put up with, but, like, I just sort of, like, don't absorb things. Like, I just kind of, like, try to have them bounce off of me, like, don't let it affect me. And then, you know, I have a hard time with sometimes, like, I get to my mental limit and I have a hard time not snapping, not breaking down. But I am finally in a mental state where I know it doesn't do anything to serve me if I break down, and if I just, like, break down. It doesn't do anything. And so I try to, like, tackle it more and confront, like, what I'm feeling. And I try to, like, use coping skills, like making myself go outside, making myself take a nice hot shower, which is what I just did. And lately I've been having these kinds of thoughts too, where I'm like, maybe I should speak out loud and make a video. But anyway, I've been finding myself, basically. That's what I was trying to say. Like, I didn't feel comfortable exploring who I was growing up. I had, parts where, like, I figured out certain things just because, like, video games were everywhere. And so, like, I got to find myself in video games. Like, I love Mario, I love Nintendo. That was one thing because my family really liked it when I got a DS when I was 7 years old, and I was super excited for it. I loved Mario Kart. I had the Sweet Life of Zack and Cody game where you're like, it's like a Ghostbuster game with mini games and you can do air hockey. Like, I loved that game. And to me, it was a really cool thing. I cherished it. Like, it was my DS. Like, it was my most prized possession. And then for my family, they could have me sit down in a corner with my DS and my headphones in or whatever, and I was no longer a problem. And they said that too, like, because my family didn't like kids. It wasn't even just me. They treated all of us like that growing up. We were like, go outside and play with each other. And that was fine. If we were outside, we could be as loud as we wanted, as long as we weren't, like, fighting as soon as we started fighting, which, that's, makes sense. But when we were inside, like, shut up. Don't be moving around too much. Like, the adults need peace. And so, like, growing up, I just didn't feel comfortable, like, stepping out of a box. And I finally can. Like, the only limits are the ones that I set for myself. And that's like, I used to hear that when I was younger, and I was, I've rolled my eyes at it. And it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, you can understand what it's supposed to mean, but you don't really get it until you get it. And I finally get it, like, and it's okay. I don't have self-loathing. I don't really mind that I was that child. I don't really mind that I was the weird kid, that everyone thought of me as a weirdo. I'm not trying to, like, diss the people that I grew up with, but, like, I am one of the happiest individuals that I know out of, like, the people that I grew up with. A lot of them are stuck in our hometown with their parents. Like, a lot of them just haven't really experienced the amount of life that I've gotten to experience. And I know a lot of them would look down on me and they think, like, because I'm gay. So, like, a certain amount of people would just be like, I'm a loser just because of that. Nothing I accomplish in life is ever gonna matter because I'm gay. So that in itself is enough for some people to be like, my life pretty much doesn't matter. Nothing in my life other than that matters. But even the other people who think that, like, I'm dumb because I dropped out of college and I wasted time going to college and now I have debt, which it's not even that much. I was lucky with financial aid, so I only owe about $10,000 right now for a couple years of schooling. It's still $10,000, but I'm not, like, that bad off, to be honest. But I know a lot of people, like, judge me for that kind of thing. And that's fine. Like, I don't care. Because I see their lives, and I'm like, your life isn't anything that I'm jealous of. I'm not judging, and I'm not thinking that, like, your life is worse than mine because it's your life, but I wouldn't trade. And that's sort of like, I don't really like to get nasty at other people, even if they're nasty at me. That's about the limit that I like to get to. Like, I'm not jealous of your life, so, like, who cares? But I don't want to sit there and be like, you live in your mom's basement, you're smelly, you're fat, like, you know, you don't have a car, you ride a bike, like, because I don't believe in that kind of insults. Like, I don't have a car. I drive TJ's car, and I'm working on being able to afford my own. I have my own apartment, but it's a small apartment. Like, you know, I'm proud of my apartment, but there's a lot of people who are like, my little one bedroom is nothing. Like, you know, it's all about where you are and who you are and the way that you choose to perceive things and look at things. And that's like, I kind of realized I am a very unique individual. And I don't mean that to be like, I don't think of myself that highly. I know that my capabilities are not that high. Like, I am not that smart. I suck at math, and I have an anger problem, so I also suck with my emotions. But the thing about me is I can recognize my strengths and my weaknesses. I am very self-aware to the point where, like, I might as well just be a second person outside of my body who's, like, met me with no bias. Like, I think it's because of the way that I grew up and the way that, like, my family and the treatment they put me through kind of, like, affected my mind. But I truly feel like I'm able to take a non-biased look at myself. But at the same time, I'm able to self-love myself, and, like, I can have that delusional sort of, like, I am that bitch. I'm the shit. Like, but I can also look at myself and, like, I'm a college dropout. Like I just said, I'm not that smart. I have emotional problems. But when I start to get upset, I check myself. Like, I'm doing, like, active exercises to fix that. Because I don't want to just be an emotional roller coaster my whole life. And I guess, like, I just feel like I'm unique in the sense that I am willing to tackle the challenges that life throws at me. And I'm not willing to sit there and cry and, like, be dragged down. But I'm also not willing to ignore the things that I've been through. And to ignore my trauma and my pain. And to just say, like, I need to be stronger. Like, I know that the things I went through are real. But like I said earlier, crying, throwing a fit, whatever, like, doing things that don't serve me, that doesn't serve me. Like, I need to do things that are going to serve me and what I want to accomplish in this lifetime. And I think part of the reason why I never was able to find people who really, like, who I clicked with and who, like, I stayed with was because I didn't really have anything that I, like, believed in, truly. I didn't really have, like, an identity, and so I sort of would cling to other people and what they brought to the table. And at first, a lot of people, and I actually think that I have, or at least I think that I have undiagnosed BPD. And when I was 18 years old, I did a 3-day inpatient stay, and I was diagnosed with bipolar type 2, I think. It was manic depression. Like, manic, it was the one where you get manic, and you experience mania. And I believe that I was misdiagnosed, and I believe that I was, more appropriately, would have been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. And Now I'm 23. In the last 5 years, I feel like I have done like self-research. I've watched people like Amberlynn Reid and Girl World and kind of like use that as a cautionary tale. And I feel like at one point I did meet the criteria, and I honestly, like, I've done therapy on and off too, which I feel like did help. But whenever I did therapy, my counselor or therapist, whatever you want to call them, they always would be like, it sounds like you understand your issues. It sounds like you've thought this through. Like, they always were like, it kind of seems like the only reason you really need therapy is just to say it out loud. And that was it. Like, they've, like, every time, every person, every therapist, like, that's kind of what they would say. They never were really, like, they would start to ask me, like, how did you feel, whatever, and then I would just, like, go into it. I would just start kind of what I just did, and they never really needed to. Like, I kind of just do therapy by myself, which is, like, weird, but I think some people are capable of that, and I'm, like, lucky that I'm capable of that, because I feel like it's kind of like I watched my broken, dysfunctional family for so long that, like, I know exactly, like, what a broken, dysfunctional person is, and, like, I know exactly the parts of myself that, like, go there. I know, like, I know how I could, like, slip into that kind of a state. I kind of forgot what I was saying. But, I literally, like, my ADHD just kicked in, and I just kind of, like, lost my entire train of thought. Like, sinking into despair. I don't really have depressive episodes anymore because I've cut out the parts of my life that made me depressed. And unfortunately, it was my family. Unfortunately, it was a lot of the friends that I made who weren't really my friend. And not everyone, like I kind of said earlier, from my past is necessarily bad or did anything to me, but with the state of mind that I was in, and, like, the way that I perceived the world and whatever, like, other people were not capable of giving me what I needed, and I wasn't capable of, you know, giving other people what they needed. Like, I was a lot. I was too much. And I didn't mean to be, but, like, I wasn't aware. So whenever I was, like, basically kind of chasing people's validation and acceptance, and I, like, kind of kept trying for it, and other people got annoyed, and they were like, I'm just, like, I'm clingy, basically, like, I'm latching on, like, and I'm too much. I thought of it as, I'm showing you my devotion, I'm showing you my loyalty, I'm showing you how good of a friend I am, how much I care for you, and other people took it as, you are kind of psycho. And I kind of was, every now and then. I didn't mean to be, like I said, but the conditioning that I went through growing up really kind of made it impossible at a certain period in time for me to be okay. There had to be, like, a mental sort of psychosis for, like, what I had to go through growing up. And I didn't want to accept that I was that kid. I didn't want to accept that, like, that there may have been kind of, like, quote-unquote something wrong with me growing up. And, you know, I have the self-love. Like, I love myself because I know that I was a little weirdo, but I know that I was a little weirdo because I didn't know better. I didn't know, like, I wasn't taught. I wasn't given attention. I wasn't given time. I wasn't given all of that consistently. The only person who really, like, consistently gave that to me was my grandfather. But my grandfather was not consistently, like, around. He lived a town over. And sometimes there'd be periods where we visited, like, every week with him. Other times it would be, like, a month or two without seeing him. He was always a consistent part of our lives, but in terms of day to day, he was not. And so when I was with him, he was the one person, like, he took me hunting, he like would listen to me and he would offer me solutions to my problems, but you know, he wasn't there for me enough for me to be able to, like, feel like I didn't even realize that. Like, at the time, you know, I didn't even realize growing up that my grandfather was truly the person looking out for me the most, who cared about me the most. And I don't think that he really saw, like, what was going on between, like, my mom and I growing up, because my mom obviously wanted it to look a certain way, wanted it to be portrayed a certain way. And so, like, there were times where we kind of touched on, like, issues between mom and I. And my grandfather never told me that I was, like, a bad kid or something, but he always just sort of was like, maybe I could have done something a little better. Like, whenever I would talk to him about, like, I don't understand what I did wrong. I don't understand, like, why mom is thinking that I can do all of this. Like, you know, he never ever really, like, fully went with her, but he always would kind of say, like, and I truly believe that he didn't really know that I was treated the way I was when he wasn't around. And honestly, when he passed was kind of when that mental breaking point hit for me. I was, I believe, 18 years old, and he passed I was on my way home, and I was on a bus from Eau Claire to Wausau. And unfortunately, he passed on my bus ride. So when I got to Wausau, my family picked me up, and I was able to tell. And I just was like, is he gone? And they were like, we're sorry, but yes. So that honestly was kind of when the mental break kind of happened. And I kind of feel like it's also because my grandfather, like, he was really the only reason I feel like I was accepted in the family the way I was. Like, I was my grandfather's quote-unquote pride and joy. I was his trusty sidekick, his peanut butter boy, because when I was, I liked the song, "A peanut sat on a railroad track, his heart was full of flutter, along came a choo-choo train, woo woo, peanut butter." And I would sing that all the time when I was a kid, so my grandpa called me his peanut butter boy. And I really feel like it was because my grandfather cherished and loved me so much that the rest of my family kind of did a little bit more. And if it weren't for my grandfather, I don't really know. I don't think my family would have treated me even half as good if it weren't for my grandfather. I really feel like my grandfather, like, was the only person in my corner. And he was. I remember, like, he would defend me to my mom. Like, my mom would be cussing and swearing and whatever at me, and my grandfather would be like, say my mom's name, and he'd be like, when he goes to school and he says stuff like that and you get a call, you better not get mad at him. Like, my grandfather was like the only voice of reason to my mother. He was like the only one that would stand up to her in her parenting. My grandmother wouldn't. My grandmother would tell us when my mom wasn't around that she didn't agree, but when my mom was around, my grandmother didn't want the confrontation. My grandmother let my mom do whatever she wanted to us. And she would tell us that she didn't agree with it sometimes, but she never actually stood up for us. And my grandfather stood up for us, and he would see the change while he was there. And then I think, like, he just thought that it lasted, and he didn't really realize that my mom was an actor, and she would just, like, act a certain way when he was around, and then go back to her normal self when he wasn't. So, I think maybe having to, like, rely on myself and no longer having him, it kind of forced me to go one of two ways. Either complete shit show, or make something of myself and just try my best. Because that's like, my grandfather was like the one person where it really was like, I just needed to do my best, and if I did my best, he acknowledged that, and he saw that, and he was always willing to do that for me. And that's where it's like, with my mom puts things about me down that don't even make sense. When I was growing up, I would clean the bathrooms by taking everything out of the bathrooms so that, like, I could get every inch of the floor, every inch of, like, every surface. And I did that because I was, like, OCD about, like, and I still am. I have to, like, I have OCD when it comes to cleaning. It's undiagnosed, but, like, it's like I have to do certain things a certain way. But it doesn't get in the way because it's just like, I know that that's how I clean, and I just do it that way, and it is what it is. So it doesn't really slow me down, and I don't say OCD in the sense of, like, it's getting in my way, so I don't really know if I should use OCD like that. Maybe I shouldn't, because OCD specifically is supposed to, like, get in your way of your daily life, I'm pretty sure. But I have, like, you know, I have to do it a certain way, or I don't feel satisfied with the way it's done. My grandfather was actually a lot like that too. And I think that's something with my grandfather, is he and I were very, very similar. He was a lot like me, and so I think that's part of why he was like the one person in my family who was able to understand me and see the value of what I brought. And once he was gone, it was just very hard. And it was very difficult for me to navigate my relationship with my mother, because at that point, he kind of was the only thing stopping me from being done with my mom, basically. Like, my mom and I, as growing up, like, by the time I was 15, like, she was constantly mad at me for something, and I was constantly trying to please her and never able to do enough. And so our relationship started to grow volatile by the time I was a teenager. And the only reason why I guess it was somewhat salvageable was because of my grandfather. And I think because my mom wouldn't go, like, you know, she was limited in how far she was willing to go. Because it's weird, but, like, my grandfather's also, like, the one person that my mom actually ever cared about. Like, my grandfather was, like, the one person that my mom admires, looks up to, like, believes is better than her, or, like, on the same level as her. And I guess it's hard to explain, and it's hard to, like, explain why I know this, but, like, I just know. Like, my mom thinks that my grandmother, her mom, is, like, less of a person than she is. My mom, like, she would never say this to my grandmother. And my grandmother would claim it's not true. But, like, my mom thinks of my grandmother as less of a person than she is. And she also thinks of her sister, my aunt, that way. And it shows in the way that my mom would talk about them when they're not around and that sort of thing. And my mom kind of views everybody like that, including us, her children. But the one person that she saw as like a full human being on the same level as herself was my grandfather and her father. And so it's weird, but like, he really was like the only reason she and I had a good side to our relationship, I think. And once he was gone, our relationship was nothing but volatile. We tried to force it. I tried to force it. But my mom, when she is an active part of my life, she brings me nothing other than stress and anxiety. And when she's not in my life, like the last almost 2 years, I feel so much more peace. And that's not normal to feel about someone's mother. But that's the way, like, that is how it is towards my mom. And I really think my grandfather was the only thing, like, holding our relationship together. And maybe that's, like, a common thing. Maybe that's, like, a phenomenon, a psychological phenomenon or something that is, like, well known at this point. But anyway, I have 2 jobs, and I finally found work that I really like. I just worked 13 and a half hours yesterday, and I feel good. I'm tired, but I feel good. And on top of working 13 and a half hours, because I worked from 5 p.m. until 6:30 a.m. this morning, I worked a 7 to noon at my part-time job. So I worked 7 to noon. I had a doctor's appointment at 2. And then my work called me and asked if I was available because someone called in. And I picked up a shift and I worked from 5 o'clock until 6 a.m., 6:30 a.m. this morning. And then I came home to my boyfriend. I snuggled him up and we slept until noon when he had to go to work. And now I've been doing my own thing. I made myself lunch, which I had 8 gyoza dumplings, pork and vegetable. I had a Prime energy drink, what else? And a tomato and pickle salad with yum yum sauce, which wasn't really the best, but it was good enough. It was edible. It was pickles and tomatoes with dressing. So, palatable, but not the best. And then I played Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I've been on Double Dash kick lately, but I played 8 Deluxe. And I did one of the newer cups. I don't know which cup it was, but it was the, my nose is itchy. I need to, there. I think it was, the Leaf Cup. It was one of the, expansion cups. Anyway, and then after I played Mario Kart, I did a couple of shorts, for YouTube. I did, singing and stuff. And then I took a hot shower. And then while I was in the shower, I started to think about this, and I decided to do this after my shower. And now I have my workout clothes on, and I am about to go for a little run. And oh my god, I just realized I've been speaking for an hour. Holy shit. I did not realize I've been talking for that long. I honestly thought it had been 20 minutes. Wow. So I don't really have to keep thinking of things to say, but my whole point with that was growing up, I felt like such a loser. And I really wondered what I would be like as an adult, and I never pictured myself as anything. I never really thought of my future or planned for my future because I didn't know what I wanted. And anytime I kind of thought about what I wanted, I felt like I couldn't think about that. I didn't feel like I would be able to, and I limited myself because I was constantly worried about what other people were thinking. And that thought is what held me back for so long when I was growing up. From being a teenager to being older. And it kind of tied in with that thought that I had when I was 7. Because with those two ideas together, I never realized it. But feeling like life is already kind of cumbersome, and why would I want to exist this existence that long, mixed with wow, other people are judgmental, and other people are always going to just think the worst about me, and other people are always going to think that I'm a dork, I'm stupid. My biggest insecurity, I think, when I was growing up was I felt like other people would be able to see, how dumb I was. I didn't feel like I was an intelligent person. And I felt like everyone else was smarter than me. And that made me feel very insecure. And that insecurity added to the feeling of why would I want to live like this? I wasn't living in a good way. And it's sad because my family really failed me, because they didn't even know that this type of stuff was going on in my head. Mentally, they never checked up on me, and whenever I tried to go to them, I was shut down. So when I was 12, I had a attempt, and that is why I moved to online school, and I was homeschooled other than marching band from 8th grade until my senior year. And then my senior year, I begged to be able to go back to public school because I wanted to experience it before I couldn't. So I did one semester my senior year because I graduated. I only did one semester my senior year. And I did one semester actually attending 7 periods, all at the high school, instead of one period of marching band and then that was the only time I was ever there. And honestly, the band director let me get away with like missing half of band class. So even though it wasn't allowed and it wasn't like the way it was meant to be, and I technically should have probably gotten truancy, the band director just like stopped marking me absent at a certain point. I think because he kind of could see as an outsider that I had a lot going on, but he was also the type of teacher where he didn't want to touch the shit. So like he just stopped marking me absent, but he never really like approached me or offered like help or anything, which was fine because I wouldn't have taken it from him anyway. But even in high school, I was like, why does he not mark me absent when I'm like always like never here? And it, looking back, I can kind of see like, you know, he didn't want to be involved, but he also didn't want to like make anyone's life harder who's already having a hard time. With the way the world is moving, people acting in that kind of kindness is going to be literally impossible, and that's also kind of sad. But anyway, I think this is pretty much the end of the video. Like, it's alright. And if I could give myself a hug, like, from when I was younger, I really needed it. I really needed, like, a genuine hug where I felt like I didn't have to get away from the person as fast as possible because, you know, it's just a formality and it's not a real hug. Like, I needed like more genuine human connection, and like I needed help to be able to like feel that human connection was even possible. And like my family really failed me. But once I was an adult and once I was responsible for myself and I was able to take my life into my own hands, I've been able to do better, and I've been able to give myself what they never gave me. I've been able to make up for where they failed. And I don't really know what the purpose of this video is. A lot of people will call me narcissistic because they think that I think that I'm just so important that everybody needs to hear what I have to say. And that's not really what it is. It's just more of like, it's a mix of things. Like, I don't have a lot to do. I've literally worked like 18 hours in the last 40 hours. So I've done plenty of work. Like, I've showered. I have the energy, so it's just like, why not? I grew up watching people do YouTube, and YouTube is something that people pursue, so it's like, it really isn't about like me feeling like I'm just so important. It really is like I'm trying to pursue something with this. And also, I feel like my experience could be relatable to some people. Not a lot of people maybe, but I feel like I'm not the only one who's dealt with these kinds of situations growing up. And I'm definitely not the first person or only person who has a toxic family. I chose to go no contact, and that's the way that I chose to cope as an adult with my dysfunctional toxic family. Other people choose to remain in contact, and maybe it's limited contact. Like, other people do it differently, and it's not that I think other people should live the way that I live, but I can offer my experience, I can offer my perspective, and like I said, it gives me something to do. And I feel productive right now. Like, I feel like I actually just, like, said things of value. I feel like my ideas were pretty solid. I feel like I was able to be focused and clear. And I just, like, it's something that I felt like doing, and I was in the shower and I had a thought that I wanted to share, and it just so happened to take over an hour and 10 minutes for me to be able to fully get my thoughts out. And it's up to anyone else to listen or not listen. So, like, it's really, I'm not doing anything bad by doing what I'm doing and choosing to live the way that I want to live and to do things that I want to do and the things that I enjoy. And it took me so long to realize that, like, I deserve that in life as well. Like, I'm always trying to make other people happy. I'm always trying to accommodate other people. I need to accommodate myself. Like, I deserve to take care of myself. And it, you know, everyone does. Everyone deserves to take care of themselves. And that's pretty much, I guess, the main point of this video, is like, self-care is important, and it took me a really long time to, like, kind of start practicing self-care. But now that I've been doing it, it's definitely, like, worth it to be introspective, to, like, reflect on things. I am out of things to say. I'm honestly at the point where I feel like I'm starting to lose my words. So when that happens, I get flustered. And when I get flustered, I feel so awkward, and, you know, so I think that this is where I'm going to end. I don't really have anything else to say anyway. I've kind of probably said the same thing a couple of times now, as I'm trying to, like, figure out how to end this the best way. And I guess I'm just the kind of person where I just kind of have to say things like, this is the end of the video. I hope maybe some of what I said resonated with you. And yeah, take care. Bye.